video and all other videos on this channel are for entertainment purposes only. The content of this video and all other videos on this channel are the opinions of the creator only and do not constitute legal, trading, investment, or financial advice of any kind. Investing carries a high level of risk and the majority of retail clients lose money. Do not invest any capital unless you understand the risks and you are prepared to lose it all. Right, hello and welcome to Camel Finance. I'm your boy Camel and we got a lot to get through today. So strap in, we're going to talk about the failed cycle or lack thereof in Bitcoin. I put out a members update yesterday for the members, so I think plenty of people already are well aware of the situation. Those half cycle lows in the stock market are confirmed, so again, still going according to expectations. Overall, despite the sentiment being really bad out there at the moment, despite there being a lot of fear and panic, despite there being this whole war narrative and blah, 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 the cycles are doing the cycle things. I really don't think there's too much to be concerned about right now. So hopefully we can get through this week with some nice big green weekly candles, and then we really don't have anything to worry about at all as far as I'm concerned. So I've got quite a mixed bag today. Just before we get into this, I want to preface today's episode with a trigger warning, okay? If society turns to persecution of anything it doesn't agree with, I am not interested in having any kind of personal arguments, all of this kind of thing, okay? I'm going to present some data as I see it, and it is my opinion. You can take it, you can leave it. You don't have to come and attack me. You certainly don't have to come and attack me on a personal level because I'm about to show you some triggering stuff, okay? So I'm just presenting my ideas. My ideas could easily be extremely wrong. They could be 180-degree flat wrong. And remember, it's business, not personal, right? My job is to present what I see going on in the space. And that's what I'm going to do. So if I'm about to crush some of your dreams, okay, again, you don't have to come for me personally. If you think you know better, then just know better, right? You do you and I'll do me. It's not that deep. So yes, we officially had a failed daily cycle in Bitcoin. We'll come back to this at the end because I think it'll be easier to illustrate with some charts. I did want to say, look, some of you guys have to learn to let the stop do the worrying. The stop loss is the stop loss for a reason. The risk should always be managed. And if you get stopped out, it's okay, unless you aren't managing risk, okay? If you are applying the risk management strategy from the tutorial playlist and you get stopped out, then it should be fine, right? It should be part and parcel of the process. Sometimes you get stopped. The only time it's not really okay is if you get stopped out and you're blowing huge chunks out of your account, right? Then it kind of alludes to the fact that you're a degenerate that doesn't manage the risk. And that's a you problem, okay? From time to time, cycles are going to fail, right? And it's not the end of the world. Where the real problem lies is when people are not managing risk. So again, remember, there's only one difference between the small percentage of traders that do this for a living and everyone else. And that one difference is that those professionals manage risk, okay? If you're not managing risk, you're not going to make it. So you might as well give up, pack up, go and do something else, right? Take your money, go and buy a car, go and buy a house, go and buy whatever, go on holiday, do anything that will give you some level of quality of life. Because if you can't manage risk, then you're literally just waiting to burn that pile of cash that you've got, okay? So really, really think about what I said. I also put this out, I said, look, it's been over a year since I updated this chart, but here's an update. It looks kind of weird at the hard right edge, right? It doesn't just fall off a cliff like the other times. This time we're kind of going sideways. I still maintain these yields are on their way lower. We'll look at some yield charts at the end. I'm actually thinking about structuring a bond trade for the level 3 members as well, so I'll share that with those guys I think on Wednesday perhaps. But so long as the yields can continue to come off, we can continue to tell that to the bond market, and we can assume this Fed funds rate, which is in orange, will continue to move to the downside. So I think we're closer than we've been in a very long time. But of course, I still believe that we are in the middle of a controlled demolition, and that controlled demolition will ultimately be used for slashing rates to zero, massive QE and stimulus, and then the rollout of CBDCs. Now, speaking of CBDCs, the EU intends to launch its CBDC, the digital euro, in October of this year. So this is actually closer than most people realize, okay? I often, when I speak about CBDCs, I see a bunch of people in the comments that really have no idea what they're talking about, okay? So if you don't understand them, all the information is there. I've made countless videos on this channel from the early days showing the white papers and talking about how the entire CBDC system works. And whether it's my channel or somebody else's, okay, there's loads of information for you to just go and check out. So if you're not familiar with it, I would highly recommend you actually put some time in to learn about these CBDCs, because we are now at the point where they're just months away. Now, let's be clear. I am not suggesting that we're going to have this big blow up and everything I said before, controlled demolition, massive printing by October. That's not what I'm suggesting. What I think is far more likely is we get to October and they do like a soft launch. They start to roll it out, it runs in parallel, they do some checks and make sure that nothing goes wrong with it for a while, and then ultimately they will do the switch, okay, the big rug pull, all of that much later in life. But make no mistake about it, this is not some tinfoil hat conspiracy, okay? This is literally beginning in October of this year with the digital euro.
A digital currency where it has been piloted, and there is only one which is clearly now launched in a very small country, but it is piloted implemented on a fairly large scale in China, is of use and of service to all citizens. So it is not something that is good for the elite, or is good for the young, or is good for some versus others. If it is well done and if it is well implemented, it would be of service to all citizens.
Okay, so there you can see they've already piloted it in China. Okay, actually, that reminds me, I've got to show you something. On one of the prior episodes from last week, I was talking about how this whole thing, including the Everything app, where we could potentially see centralization of all these apps squeezed into one thing, I was saying I'm quite skeptical of it because it reminds me of WeChat in China. Okay, WeChat in China, for anyone that doesn't know, aggregates like a WhatsApp type messenger, a social media network, a government documents type thing, a social credit score, an online banking app, and a couple of other things, right? Which means if you do something bad, or at least bad in the government's eyes, they can knock down your social credit score, they can take money from you. Centralization and control, especially with a CBDC component, has potentially very sinister implications. And so what I actually said was, I don't really trust the Everything app. It reminds me of WeChat in China. And this is how some people react, okay? By telling me that this is leftist extremism or whatever. You can pause your screen and read the comment if you're interested. But as I said at the start, right? Society turns to persecution of anything it doesn't agree with. Most people don't trust anyone apart from Elon and Trump. I just happen to not trust anyone at all. Okay, it's only that I don't trust two less people than you do in many cases. Okay, no one's coming to save you, certainly not a human. And again, I bring this all up because this is literally happening in front of your eyes, right? It's no good attacking me and calling me propagandized and that I spend too much time on Facebook or Reddit or the BBC News, which I don't do any of that. Okay, it's no good pretending like this stuff isn't happening right beneath our own eyes. Okay, so really think about what I'm saying here. Okay, you're either fully aware of this stuff, you understand it, and you're watching it unfold like I am, or you need to go and do some research, right? But calling me a leftist extremist when I don't even know the difference between the left and the right is it's not going to help you. It's not going to help you position away from this. It's not going to help you get through what is starting in October, and you heard it from Lagarde herself. We've already piloted it in China. It's had a lot of success, right? All of this stuff comes with digital ID, facial recognition, social credit scores. Okay, there are plenty of documentaries on YouTube about this. Please go and familiarize yourself with it, because attacking me is not going to make it go away, right? Really think about what I'm saying. Now, again, I know a lot of you are not going to like this, but I see a lot of people looking at Bitcoin dominance and thinking it's about to top and roll over and head down to the lows, and then we're going to have this big, massive alt season. When in reality, this is actually, in my opinion, far more likely to break out and head towards 75. And during this time, we're going to continue to hear people say the alt season is just around the corner. I hate to break it to you. It isn't. I've been extremely consistent about saying this, and people just continuously tell me I'm wrong. Yet, almost no altcoins are outperforming Bitcoin. Priced in Bitcoin, they're all doing terrible, and the majority of holders, okay, I would have no real problem with if they were sat in cash right now, waiting for the lows in altcoins to then long the lows and catch a quick 2 or 3x pump if they're lucky, if they choose the right one, if they get their timing and risk management right. But the truth is, the majority of people that keep telling me I'm wrong about this are already down 70, 80, 90+%, okay? And therefore your 2 or 3x pump, if you're so lucky enough to get it, is still not going to put you anywhere close back to break even, let alone outperform Bitcoin for this cycle, okay? This is just the absolute truth of the matter, and I'm going to continue to beat this drum. As I've said a billion times before, I would love to be wrong about this call in particular, because I have nothing to lose. All I lose out on is perhaps missing a few X on some pumps, right? Which to me, I don't care, right? I miss pumps every day. It doesn't affect me in any way, shape or form. So I would love to be wrong on this if it means all of those people around me that have been all in altcoins and are currently sat on minus 80% portfolios, if you're going to be able to exit with some profit, okay, I would love to be able to come back here and say, oh, happy days, right? We got rejection at resistance and it moved down. But if I was going to draw a squiggle on this chart, I bet you it ends up looking like this, honestly. A little drop, right? And then it goes higher during the bear market. Okay, that's what the cycles suggest, and everyone that thinks that this is coming next, I think it's just peak delusion, man, and I've been very consistent in saying that, and if we're honest, people have been calling for it since here. Then it was here, then it was alt seasons around the corner, and it's about to break out. I'm telling you, it's about to break out, so just keep that in mind. You know, just to show you, I've been talking about this forever, okay? What do you think happens when we get to the end of these major 4-year cycles? and then things start to blow up and we enter the recession. We're already probably in a recession. It's just the NBER doesn't go back and paint the bars until far, far, far after the fact. Usually by the time the NBER officially declares the recession, it's pretty much over and we're already at the lows. So do you really think going into the end of this cycle, as the recession starts to become obvious, as we start to see the stock market truly collapse, Bitcoin put in its major 4-year cycle high, do you really think people are going to say, do you know what I need right now? Rotation into highly speculative things that are not backed by anything. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. So again, I know a lot of you are going to be really upset by this, but it's not personal, it's business, right? It's my job to call the market how I see it. Could I be wrong? Yes. Do I hope I'm wrong in this particular call? Yes. But under the hood, you have to be honest with yourself, okay? The dynamics driving this, okay, is minimal retail participation and a lot of capital that is locked and cannot rotate. Not that I'm speculating it won't. It literally cannot, okay? Things like MicroStrategy, all these other companies that are buying Bitcoin for their corporate treasury, they're not going to rotate it into speculative altcoins. They're going to buy it and hold it forever. Unless something goes wrong, then they become forced sellers to generate cash, right? But those are the only two options. Hold the Bitcoin forever or be forced to generate liquidity and sell it for cash. There is no scenario where all of these millions of Bitcoin are rotated into altcoins. The same is true of the BlackRock ETF. You really think the pensions, BlackRock itself that buys its own ETFs, the other funds like Fidelity that buy each other's ETFs, do you really think they're going to rotate it into SHIB ETF? Of course they're not, right? It's just not going to happen. And I think it's time that we start to really face facts here, okay? Because I'm just getting tired of hearing alt seasons around the corner when you are jumping in front of a train to bet against a trend this strong. Repeatedly, this thing continues to invalidate, continues to push to new highs. And it reminds me of the most hated rally in the early portion of the blow off top. Way back here at the lows, the whole way up, people were angrily shorting this thing, rage shorting it, all the way up till about here at the yen carry trade unwind. Did we finally stop throwing around that term, the most hated, most doubted, most angriest, most shorted rally in history, right? It was only about here, after practically the whole thing was done and we're comfortably at new highs, that I stopped parroting that same narrative. But as far as I can tell, that's exactly what this is, right? Just rage shorting, doubting the thing the whole way up, continuing to hate it. And just because, historically speaking, it's done this, does not mean it will again, okay? Like I said, to probably do this little pullback, okay, drops 10, 15% if you're lucky, and then moves higher during the bear market. I don't think enough people are truly prepared for what's coming. And just like fractals always do, we got this global M2 fractal breaking down when it matters most, okay? So I know it's never going to track one-to-one. This was another thing people were very, very upset about. They're like, yeah, well, what do you mean it doesn't carry weight? If you zoom all the way out, M2 topped 6 months after Bitcoin in 2022 and bottomed almost a year after Bitcoin in 2023. It's really not as useful as people think it is. On a more positive note, the Fed has just officially removed reputational risk for Bitcoin and crypto banking, which of course is bullish for Bitcoin. You can pause your screen and take a quick look at this if you feel the need to. And whilst retail are out here being bearish and buying altcoins, the same thing is observed time and time again, and that is that the big boys, okay, the whales, the institutions, the companies adding Bitcoin to treasury, they continue to buy this thing, which is conducive to massive markup campaigns. And over in the stock market, the battle at 6K continues. We've had this for 8 months, okay, that this level has been significant. We've been ping-ponging around it for 8 months. I think it is finally time to go right out of that half cycle low, as I'm going to show you right here, okay? So as I was saying, Friday, maybe Monday or Tuesday, we would get that half cycle low. As it stands, this is day 19, so right in the middle of the cycle. And if we pull up the current candles using the US 500 and ignore my squiggles, look at this, okay? So half cycle low confirmed. As I was saying with the members, we could probably copy and paste this fractal in here and just stick it on here. This is probably what I think is coming, okay? And then we'll come back and retest the all-time highs into the upcoming cycle low and go from there. So we continue to say long and strong, right? We continue to play the cycles. Let's turn the indicator on. We continue to allow this thing to play out. And as I just showed you with that fractal, okay, probably going to look something akin to this, I would imagine, okay, down into the cycle low. And that will be the back test of the all-time high, totally invalidating the original top call idea when we went flat before Christmas, okay? And again, we just handled this whole thing exactly the same as here, right? We cut the trade before the yen carry trade, we waited for a higher low and momentum to return in the market to prove itself, and then we got back on, and it's exactly what we did here, right? Cut the trades before Christmas, stayed out the way during the spill, did pay 1 or 2 stops on the way down before doing a whole heap of dip buying towards the lows in the longer term accounts, waited for momentum to return, played the cycles, and now it's the same thing over and over and over again. So happy days there. Gold should be about to force a daily cycle low any day day now. It's a little bit late in the window. It's a little bit through the window, but that to me tells me that we're getting extremely close. So I still think it's okay. This is day 26, right? So up to about 28 or 30, if it's going to be a bit of a longer cycle, would be fine with me. But I do think this is going to give us an opportunity to add. And the reason I say that is because silver is starting to lead for the first time in a long time. These miners and mining stocks, you know, they're at relative all-time highs. They're pushing out, and we're getting dangerously close to that perfect setup for the SilJ ad as well, which again will come in the level 3 members section. So that could be the candidate for a swing. If you're a level 3 member, look out for an update on that. There's going to be a members only live stream on Wednesday as well for the members. And what else? Oh, of course, Bitcoin. Wait, actually, let's do the yields first. Because these yields, okay, take a look at the yields. Slowly but surely rolling over, okay? Slowly but surely looking to move down. No higher high just yet, okay? So if we can continue to see this spill, as I was saying earlier in the week, or last week, sorry, if we can continue to do something like this, okay, that would tie in very nicely with this chart right here. In fact, let's check the US 2-year, okay? Resuming the tell that to the bond market squiggle, rejecting off a resistance. This is where I think bonds get bid. This is what I think finally allows the yields to come off, and then we can actually see that big blow off top into the end of the year, which of course should drive Bitcoin higher. Okay, so I know it's been choppy. I know there's been a lot of uncertainty, but we are, as far as I can tell, moving in the right direction for that final impulsive leg. Okay, yields down, stock market to break out, retest and resume off of the all-time highs, gold to find that daily cycle low literally any day now, okay, and then start to blast off something akin to this. Maybe this yellow fractal has to be moved down here, but either way, I think it's on. I think this is the stage where the miners and the mining ETFs and silver really start to outperform. People know I've got a target north of $50 over the coming months for silver, so that should be pretty good. So as you can see, hopefully everything is still going according to plan. Also, look at this angel number doing the business. I was talking to this about the members, right? That's the same stop loss that it's always been. If I zoom all the way in on this, look at this, right? Still the same stop. And we go over here, missed it by just a few bucks. So as I said in the members video yesterday, right, angel number doing the business. If you know, you know, and if you don't know, you definitely wouldn't believe me anyway. So anyway, I hope you found value here today. I hope you can appreciate sometimes we've got to talk business, right? And again, it's business, not personal. Society turns to persecution of anything it doesn't agree with. I'll be back tomorrow with more daily content as always. And if you're a level 3 member, look out for a post I'm going to put in the post tab for you guys to announce the time of the live stream tomorrow. Other than that, have a fantastic week, okay? Manage risk, stay open to all possible outcomes. I'm your boy Camel. Until next time, cheers, bye.
Camel Finance, he's the man to see. Rocking the markets with his contrarian spree. Trades like a pro, no fear, no shame. Sticking to his guns in his money game. He's a badass, oh yes indeed. Camel